Hi everyone, welcome to my Shoreline Studio. I'm Sybil Muschik. Today we're continuing on with 12C now. This has been quite the process with our Pochoir printing. It's the French style of stencil making. And I've adjusted it a little bit to deal with it since we're using a gel plate and not an etching press. And instead of inking all the pieces, putting them, on a surface and like a plate and then running it through an etching press, I have to do each piece separately. So there's a bit of a process. It's very messy. You'll have to keep cleaning my hands because it's just get paint all over the place. I can't help it. And also, I would like to thank Ryan Keys for allowing us to work with this imagery. We're doing his cabin. This is the cabin at the end of our lake, and it's sort of a Victorian style cabin. It has so much character. It's so lovely. I've actually never seen the inside of it, but I have had friends who have lived there, and so we will use this. And the image was particularly lovely because we caught the sunlight at the sunset time where it's glowing on the windows, and we'll try and capture that effect as we go. We will be working with a color copy. We'll be working with it as a black and white, and I'm placing it underneath the plate so that we have a format to work, and we can place all the pieces in the proper position for printing with a gel plate. So okay, let's get to the plate and we'll see how this works out. And I did have a lovely time doing this. We're going to be doing drawing as well as just the printmaking part, because you can't cut all the little pieces and ink them the way you would ordinarily. So it goes into drawing as well and painting a little bit, because you're going to add details to make the prints work. But that's all right. That's all part of the process. So here we go. So here's the setup. I'm going to be printing the background first, but we have to block out certain areas. So I've cut out the cabin and the tree, and I'm going to ink the background. It has a cabin in it, but as I said, that will be blocked out. Now I've got my trusty rollers, my Baren, and my little rollers. I have my several golden open paints. We're going to be using the yellow, that's cad yellow, primrose, quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue, quinacridone nickel azo gold, titanium white, carbon black, and possibly cerulean blue, diazazine purple, burnt sienna, and some cadmium red light. So that's our palette. We want to make it fairly colorful. There's alizarin crimson in here too. And we'll be working probably the background. We'll continue with it being dark like it is in the photograph, so that the cabin will really show up. So okay, so I've set up another station, and it'll be an inking station. And this is the messy part, because as you transfer the image that's already been primed with paint to the plate, you're touching paint, so you just can't help but get messy. But that's okay. I've got my wipes, I've got water. We're just going to keep wiping as we go, and I think we'll be able to continue contain the mess quite a bit. Okay, here we go. So I've got sort of a background printing area, and got a couple of plates to put paint on to roll from. So we're going to start a little bit of black to give us a darkness. but not too much. It's very overpowering. Some quinacridone magenta. We're just going to sort of do a kaleidoscope of colors here. Some that's ultramarine blue, and a little bit of burnt sienna that's often in the evergreen trees. And then we're just going to roll it out. See, I've already got paint on me. Yep, par for the course. Okay, so that's handy. Right, so I'm going to use a small roller for this, just to have a little bit more control. These are the open paints because there's tackier for a longer period of time. And so we're just going to roll it out. Right over the tree in the cabin. Remember, we blocked that out. We may have to do a printing more than once, depending on the saturation of the colors. There may be spots, but because these are like individual little stencils, that's all possible. Particularly when you're getting close to the end, you might just want to lighten or darken some of the areas, and you can just reprint the stencils. Okay, here's the messy part. Oh, and I've got as you can see, you want it to be really homogeneous here. If there's any blobs that you have to worry about, get them out now because they will print. Now we place. Carefully. And then what I do is I use another sheet and I run the stencil in place so that there's good contact of the ink with the plate. And if there's any bits and pieces of paint running around, here's where you clean again. Not too bad right now. And then you lift. And then you find a spot to put your ink pieces aside. All right. And then I have registered this guerrilla style, of course. You can see the under piece is under the plate. I think I mentioned that earlier, that the image is under the plate. And that way I can position the pieces. Put some muscle in it because you're trying to get all the paint you can. Okay. And we have saved the there we go. And the background looks nice and colorful. Lovely. All right. Okay, what's next? The foreground. Now we're going to print that. And you want to brayer off your brayers as you go to keep them clean. And be sure you put your trees and cabin back so that it's in the order you want them in. So in the image, there's quite a few bushes and things. I've ignored all that detail. Some of this is going to transfer, as it did in this case. There's a little bit of the ink actually coming off onto the paper already. So we're working a little bit with image transfer, which is interesting. Now, if we need lots of white. For the lighter colors, I've got a separate plate here. And we'll just use maybe a little bit of the cerulean blue. What I'm going to do is, there should be even a little bit of paint on the roller, so to give the snow unity and to have it tie in with the rest of the picture, we're just going to pick up a little bit of the other colors. But let's get this white on there first. So we're just going to pick up some of the color, just ever so slightly. Be careful because this can backfire on you. It might be too strong. Just here and there. So a little bit more of the white. Just a little bit more white. And don't forget, some of those bushes would transfer as well. So I'm just going to make sure the white is dominant. We'll see as we print. But the snow should have some interesting moments, like dips and valleys and so forth. So then we place that. And I think we need to put the little trees in position just in case. Do that first. And again, put that sheet over top, glue it down. Lift. And put we're going to be using the trees, so, and print. Okay, the reveal. So there's our snow. We have this really beautiful colored background. Okay. I'm using a few different colors than I did the first few pieces that we'll be showing, after the video's finished, as usual. Okay, so now the cabin. Now we have to make sure that we're blocking out this white area and the two little windows. So let's put those in position. Here is the railing and the white overhang. This is sort of like a little Victorian design. Has these lovely little lattices. We won't get the benefit of that, unfortunately, but there we go. Whoops. Upside down. There you go, just blocking things out. Okay, now we're going to ink up the cabin. In the photograph, this is kind of a nice orange. See, it's a cedar. I think this is cedar. And one side is turquoise, so we're going to try and get that in, but we'll see how that works. Let's go for the cedar look first. And I think I can ink this part separately without too much trouble. So, okay, this is where our orange comes in, and I can just put it on directly because there's not much of it there. And a little bit of just quinacridone, nickel azo gold. Touch of burnt sienna just to take it down a touch because we want the windows to shine the most. And we're probably going to get a little bit of an image transfer. And so some of the details might show up. Okay, I'm trying to remember to keep that one section. Now we get into the mucky stuff. Okay, another roller, and I'm just going to wipe back this side here. Let's switch that back to see if we can get the turquoise on there. We'll use some cerulean. I'm going to actually put it on with a little painting knife to get it in position. And then we'll brayer it. And other brayer. Now you want it to stick, and it's not really sticking very well. We'll see how it prints. Might have to do it again. Now, position. Line it up. Use our sheet. Glue it down. It is quite the process, but it's well worth the effort, so hang in there. Okay, lifting it off. And the cabin's done, so we can put that aside, and we have to put the windows and the lattice back. And printing. Oh yes. Okay, we have a bit of a highlight as well, and our turquoise turned out, well, I'm very pleased. I think that's the first time out of all of them so far. Okay, guess what? Okay, it's cleanup time. Okay, what's next? Our lattice. That's this one. Now I'm just going to print it white, and this is where the painterliness will come in, is we're going to paint the black in later, these little moldings and little finials or whatever you call them, and what gives it that Victorian flair. Okay, brayering off. Both brayers. Probably have a little bit of paint left, but remember, that's fine. I'm going to add a little bit more white to the mix here. And that's what's nice about these paints, is you don't have to worry that they're going to be dry. They're very like printmaking colors. I've worked with both oil, I haven't worked with aqua inks. They're particularly meant for this kind of thing. They're for etching presses. And we put it in position. And that's our little porch and the finials. Okay, cleaning. Making sure it's in position. Removing and printing. It's a process. But as you start to see it come together, it really is quite exciting. Okay, so now we have a nice white background, for our windows. And there's a bit of detail here, and remember I said we were going to put in the little dark spaces with a brush after. Okay, we're doing good. Brayering off. And tools are coming apart. Now we have these to print, and we're going to have to block out the windows. Now that's tricky because they're hard to see on the underneath image. So I'm going to have to do it by guess and by golly. We're just going to print them slightly darker than the this area here, sort of the front and the cedar part. So we have our paints pretty well all set up here. So burnt sienna, I think that probably will, and whatever alizarin crimson is in there. Just to make the windows recede, or that back part of the porch recede, not the windows. We want those really bright eventually. Okay, almost forgot my window. But that's okay because the ink actually helps to glue that. Now we can put it down. And I don't know if we need to re-ink that or not. We'll see when it prints. Glue it down. Remove both pieces. So this one is done for now. These ones are yet to come. It's a little bit of a logistical nightmare, keeping all the elements straight. I did a lot of thinking before I put all this together as to how it's going to work. Now hopefully that shows up. Okay, a little bit. It's not bad. I think we'll do it once more. They're just a little bit on the light side. I want it a bit darker. I had to have a quick cup of tea. Sorry. I was going to cough and I needed to wet my throat a little bit. You can join me if you like. So there you go. Okay, back to work. Okay, so we're re-inking our, and probably because I forgot to put those little pieces in, that it ended up being not quite as dark as I wanted it to be. And this is the main window. Everything's reversed. I had to, the under photograph, of course, I had to flip it so that it's in the proper position. Okay, cleaning. I clean as I go because otherwise it just gets really unwieldy. Okay, and Foreground. And take it off. I think that's much better. Take off the little guy. We're going to need him again. Or maybe it's a her. That goes there. And this goes back. And print. My back sheet is staying relatively clean. There's a few little spots, but not too bad. Much better. See, okay, now we're going to have the nice contrast for our glowing windows. But what we're going to do is reprint the background a little bit darker, close to the end, and maybe even the foreground, make it a little bit more bluish with that nice turquoise there to give it some cohesion. So we'll do the little guys. Now getting the right color for this is kind of tricky. You want it sort of orangey yellow. The yellow doesn't have a lot of staying power. And it's a very, very small area, so I'm just going to run these two together a little bit and then just butter, literally butter the little objects here, the windows. And we can draw the details in after. That's probably our best bet. Placing. And this one. I've sort of figured out my placement here because this little finial on this post is there, and I can just scooch it into the corner there. Gluing down. And before we print, remove. And we will see. Now our windows should be nice and bright. And there we are. Not quite as bright as I'd hoped, but not bad. This one's a little off position, but sometimes when you see a window, you get all sorts of reflections and strange things happening. So I might just put yellow on that and reposition it a little bit. Double printing is allowed. And we're just going to butter the You can invent all sorts of, printmaking terms for yourself if you like. I do, as you know. Okay, now this one was tricky because so I've moved it over a little bit more. Okay, so take our sheet, glue it down. Oh, I think that's going to be good. Print. Yes, much better. I'm still getting that white spot there, which is strange. So you can take some of that and just rub it into that area. I'm just adjusting that edge. There, okay, will do. We might want to reprint the white later on. Okay, now we have the trees to do. Where are our lovely trees? Now, in the other prints, I didn't cut out this middle section. I actually drew it in one with Posca pen, which was too much. If I put Posca pen on the plate, it will print beautifully, but it's absolutely overpowering. So we're not going to be doing that. I'm just going to be using a brush. So I have a handy little brush, and we will do that. But first, we will. Now we're just going to roll everything on. We'll work more with a burnt sienna and use some of this orange. That will tie the trees to the house. We'll just make it a little more muted. And we'll give it more texture later on. Okay. That should be good. I mean, I could even put it on at this level, do some touch-ups, but that's okay. We'll put it in after. Now positioning. This guy's a beast to position. We're a little low. There. And just taking off a smudge, gluing it down. And taking it off. Now it's a little obscure. We'll see how that prints. I don't care if there's a lot of white there. That could be interesting. Yes, we're going to have highlights. So we've got everything done now, but I want to reprint the snow and maybe the background. So more white and just a hair of the cerulean blue. The blue is very staining, and the white is white. Now you have to replace your trees because otherwise they'll be covering up the base of the trees, which we don't want. In position. And glue it down. It's lovely to start seeing it all come together. I'm not sure it's going to make that much difference in tone. Once you have those underlayers on, they're quite strong, so if you're working light, keep it light. Because it's really hard to come back from a really dark area. Yes, that's much better. There's a few interesting details and a little bit of echoing from the turquoise in the cabin. I think we're good. I might try and print that once more. Ooh, don't kill it. Poor trees. Okay, I need to move it over a tiny bit. The trouble with the image is it's a slight refraction. I'm looking at it at a certain angle. If I change my angle at all, then that's going to create a problem. So gluing down. Okay, taking it off. And let's see if some of that white's covered up. Yes, just a hair. I like it. Okay, works good. And up here, we're probably going to be cropping anyway, so not a problem. Okay, so there we have it. And the next step is to add detail. And the way I'm going to add the detail is we're going to do it on the plate. So let's put some tree branches in. Here comes the painting part. I'm going to put some knot holes. And you have to be really careful that you do not have too much paint on because it ends up being a blob. And that doesn't print well. Now, have we got, I might just add a little bit more darkness between the trees. And let's give this base here lots of color. These are poplar trees. We have a lot of those around. Some people call them aspens. I think aspens have more of the greenish leaves, you know, and they're silvery on one side. So when the quaking aspens, I think they call it, right? So a little bit of detail, and then we'll put some branches in. Not my best brush for this. I've been looking for something. You need a rigger, something that's fairly stiff. I was hunting through my brush pile to find something that works. It's not bad. Could be better. But of course you're painting on a sticky surface. There, I'll make that quite a nice branch. Maybe one up here. And sort of like an eye, a Horus eye, I think they call them. And maybe some smaller branches from the other tree, just wispy in the background. Well, that's not so wispy, but whatever. Oh dear. Okay, and maybe have this one from here going this way. And anyway, you get the idea. We're not going to go into a lot of detail. So then we have the marks between the little slats here on the deck. You don't have to put everyone in, but just enough to give the idea. More of an impression than a totally realistic image. After all, this entire piece is about the impression of the cabin, the feeling that it gives us. There's a tiny little bit of space in there, and there's a space on this side and this side. But I haven't had much luck with it printing so far. And I'm going to touch up the center beam with white. And you could probably even paint in the little slats here for the decking. And touch up the ends a little bit. We'll see how that prints. Okay, so we have to debate whether we're going to reprint the background, whether we want it darker, or just leave it as is. I don't know, I'm kind of liking it the way it is. Everything doesn't have to be. I might just one more pass at the snow. Okay, let's run it. Just a little more white. Now it transferred a little bit, if you can see. There's a lot of branches in the image, and that's why it's a little on the gray side. These, why I'm even using cutouts. I just cut out about 5 of the black and white photographs to cut everything out. And we need our trees. Where's our trees? Gluing it down. And let's see if that will create a better, looks good on there. I don't know if it'll print. Okay. Yes, we've lightened the snow considerably. I think that's good. Phew, I think we're done. Well, what do you think? I think it looks pretty good. Almost looks like it's snowing, doesn't it? From the so we painted a few details in. Could put more here in the. These are shingles, like you know, and underneath the eaves here. So there's more detail that could have been put in, but I think it works pretty good. So there you go. We survived Pochoir printing. And I hope you'll try it. It's an amazing process, and I really enjoyed it. It was really exciting, even the other ones that I was doing. And you can take any image you like, cut it in pieces, and make copies. Put that undercopy down there, and get everything placed on there. It's good to go. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this particular Pochoir printmaking session. The opportunity to stretch your abilities with drawing and just to bring your own creative mark to this kind of process is what I find fascinating and of particular interest. I hope you'll try this and perhaps join me another time for another adventure here at Shoreline Studio. And I am much cleaner now. And we'll see you again another time, I hope. And please like and subscribe and share if you can. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and be well. Bye for now.